Wouldn't it be great if you could just enter a YouTube URL and have the hook section automatically extracted into a spreadsheet? Now, this is the second video I created to help new YouTubers automate their content research. You can check out my first video right here, where I teach simple coding skills to automate downloading YouTube transcripts. Well, in this video, I'll teach you exactly how to do that using Google Colab, and it only takes 15 minutes to set up. Let's dive in. First, let's go to Google Cloud, and you should be able to log in with your Gmail account here if you have not done so. And go to the top, click on Select a Project. And by now, if it's the first time you're using it, we need to create a project. So click on it, click on New Project, and give it a name. I'll just do Google Sheet Connect. And click on Create. Go to the project you just created, Google Sheet Connect, and search for Google Sheets API and click Enable. Then here, click on Create Credentials. So we already selected Google Sheets API here. It's fine. What data we'll be accessing? Let's click on Application Data, click on Next. And here, just give it a name, whatever you want. I'll just say Google Sheet Connect 1. And then you'll be assigned a service account ID. Click on Create and Continue here. All right, here, this is really important. We have to select a role. Make sure here you select the editor role. So just type editor here, select it, and then click on Continue here. And we don't need to do anything here. Just click on Done. Now we just created our credentials for the Google Sheets API, and scroll down a little bit. Look for the Credentials tab, click on it. Then under Service Accounts, we can see the service account we just created, and click on it. And go to the Keys tab. Let's create new key. We need to use the JSON format and create. All right, private keys saved to your computer. Now, this is the process to get a JSON format key associated with your Google Sheets API. Remember that the file will be most likely saved in your download folder on your computer. We'll be able to drag that file into our Google Colab folder for upcoming setup. Now we're back at the Google Cloud Console, and if you click on Service Accounts, now you see this is the email address associated with the service account we just created. So we can just copy this one. Great, now we need to open or create a new Google spreadsheet. Give it a name here. I only have 2 column names here, and you don't have to worry about it. Important thing is we need to set up the sharing settings. So click on Share here. Paste in the service account email we just created, and make sure Enter is selected. We don't need to notify people. Just click on Share. Great. Now we're ready to go back to Google Colab and to work on our codes. Okay. Now let's create a new Google Colab notebook here. Give it a name. And first step, let's load in the credentials JSON file. So click on the file icon on the left side and just drag in the credentials.json file, which has a really long name right here. And I'd like to rename it for something simple, such as credentials.json. Great, we're now ready to work on the code. So in this first block, we need to install required libraries, and we need to install 3 of them: gspread, OAuth 2 client, and YouTube transcript API. So gspread, this library helps us to communicate with Google Spreadsheet, and as the name suggests, OAuth 2 client handles the authorization. In YouTube transcript API, this one helps us fetch YouTube transcripts. Then we wanted to move on to import necessary libraries, and you can see that we also need an additional one called RE. This is regular expression. We'll need to use this library for text pattern matching. All right, moving on to the second block, directly below the first block, we're now setting up the Google Sheets connection and extract the transcripts first 30 seconds. Okay, so before I move on to explain what's going on here, if you're new to programming, it's totally fine for you to just pause here and copy my code. And I do encourage you to copy my code line by line. And it's more important to understand the main functions of the block of code than to memorize everything line by line. Okay, let's move on. So first, let's set up the Google Sheets connection. And we define a setup Google Sheets function here. And you don't need to change the scope equals line. So this is just a standard setup for us to connect with Google Sheet and Google Drive. And here, we do need to make sure the credentials.json file, the name matches exactly where we just dragged in here. So if your name is the super long string, and for some reason you wanted to keep that super long string name.json, you want to copy and paste that name here so that these two match exactly. All right. And the second part is where we wanted to extract the first 30 seconds of the transcript of a YouTube video. Now I define the first 30 seconds as the hook part, intro part, but obviously if you want, you can redefine this. Say if you only want to grab the first 15 seconds or maybe 40 seconds, you can tweak the number here to suit your need. So by now, we have accomplished a couple of things. Number one, we have set up the Google Sheets connection. So in the Google Colab interface, we can now interact with the Google Sheet. We wanted to put info in. And secondly, we're able to extract transcripts first 30 seconds as the hook. So the next step, let's go to the spreadsheet. So what we want to accomplish here is when we enter a video's URL here, we want the first 30 seconds transcript to appear in the corresponding column here, right? So that is our goal. In order to do that, let's go back to Google Colab and write the following part. And in order to achieve that, we have to process the specified Google Sheet and iterate over rows. We don't want a program to run through all the URLs if the transcripts cell has already been filled. So we only wanted to check, number one, the URL is already entered, and number two, the transcripts hook column is blank. So in order to achieve that, we're writing this block of code. I know this sounds maybe a little bit overwhelming if you're new to coding, but let's tackle this step by step. So first, we are defining a process sheet function. So we know what spreadsheet, what column we're working with. And then we store all those records in a list of Python dictionaries. We also need to find column indices dynamically. And then we iterate over rows, all right? We wanted to be able to extract info based on a YouTube URL input. And as part of that, we need to check if the URL exists. And then we wanted to extract the video ID. And video ID is part of the YouTube URL. And then we grab the first 30 seconds. And then we update the hook column, right? Once again, feel free to pause here and read the code line by line if you want. And I also encourage you to ask ChatGPT or Cloud if there's anything you wanted to know more. All right, so we have just built our primary function process sheet so that it can dynamically input the first 30 seconds of the YouTube transcript based on the URL input in the URL column. All right, so in the next block, which is the last step, and by the way, if you're still watching, congratulations on sticking with me until now, and we're about to see the magic happen very soon. Okay, So remember that in the process sheet function we just defined, it takes 4 parameters. So spreadsheet URL, sheet name, URL column, and the hook column. So first we have to define the specific values we want these parameters to take. And apparently spreadsheet URL, we have to copy and paste in the spreadsheet we want to work on, the URL of the spreadsheet here. Make sure you use the one you created. And then the sheet name. By default, if you have one sheet in your spreadsheet, it's sheet 1. Now I'm just going to keep it here. And here you can also modify whatever column name you named your URL column and also your hook column. So let's go back to the spreadsheet. I'm naming it just lowercase URL and lowercase hook. So here I just need to type in URL, and for the hook column, just hook. Here, great, we're almost ready, and then there's very last step for sure. Let's go back to the column. We have to enter the URLs of the videos we'd like to analyze. So for this demo, I just copy and paste over the top 3 most viewed videos from Ali Abdel. I'm just going to copy the links here, make it wider. All right, so under the URL column, I just entered the 3 video links, and then I wanted to go back to the Google Colab and run the script. And after I run a script, I should the first 30 seconds of transcript of each one of the 3 videos entered here. Okay, let's see if it works together. Now we're back at the Google Colab, and let's try to run the script. First, let's run the first block, installing the required libraries. It's pretty quick. And then moving on to the second block, setting up all the functions we need. Great. And then the last one, where we want this function to look at this specific spreadsheet and focus on the URL and hook column. And we wanted to check the URL column and find the YouTube video transcripts first 30 seconds and then enter those text into the matching hook column. All right. Okay, now let's run the last block. Great, it's working. Now it says it's processing row 2, row 3, row 4. These are the URL links. And now if we go back to the spreadsheet, we should see the first 30-second transcripts of each one of these videos showing up in the hook column. And yeah, it is looking pretty good. Now let's just make sure, let's wrap the text so it's easier to read. Okay, much better. Wonderful. So yeah, it is working. Now see, we have the first 30 seconds text extracted based on a URL link. So moving forward, if I wanted to collect more high quality videos, I only need to enter a URL in this column, and I will have the first 30 seconds of transcript extracted here automatically. Every time I run the script we just built here. And remember, every time you have to run every single block and upload your credentials.json file and make sure the spreadsheet link is correct. If you don't change anything, you don't need to change any code here. It's really that simple. The code will automatically check if there is any new URL, enter and grab the 30 seconds of the transcript for you. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it and give it a try.